Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for October 14th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 288, and I am Mayor Watt, and that is the visualizer and the voice of the sentient AI. You'll hear them in a bit, because we're going to talk about... Oh, wait, that's me. Never mind. How about selling Power Rangers? Test your well water. It's a PSA. Door-to-door lawyering takes on a new meaning. Ex-DEA agent was busted. A new Xbox for early sale. ADHD suspected in 25% of adults. 5 or 10. Something might be different about this. How about a machine to harvest water? And finally, the coup de grace. Balls for Grandpa. Talk about icing on the cake. Can't wait to get to that article. If you want all of the show notes, and I know you do, type in !NSN in the Twitch chat because YouTube doesn't like Omatron. But it'll be in the show notes afterwards. I know that I'm late for yesterday's episode. Mea culpa. My bad. That's okay. I'll back clean up. We'll get it posted and today's episode shortly thereafter. Anyway, the sentient AI is supposed to save me from making mistakes like that. You want to say?
Oh, that's kind of a difficult task. Good evening, hometown citizens. Welcome to Non Sequitur News.
You almost said Hometown Daily News Show, didn't you?
I almost did. I have that on the brain lately.
And that's the old show's name. We changed the name, but not the format. Nothing else, really. Just because we bounce around from topic to topic. Hometown Daily News Show kind of hinted at something different. Everything is sourced from ohmtown.com. Go over there, become a citizen. You can swipe things left and right to hide them. If you swipe right and save them, swipe left. But you make a list and it shows up. Did the menus just break again?
I don't know.
Yeah, at least for me. It's okay. I'll fix them. Anyway, the very first article, let's get into it. The first article is over in See They're Here for you, but not for me. Anyway, it's over in Rounders Gear. Gambler accused of embezzling $26 million drops lawsuit against Sportsbet. Hey, if you are accused of embezzling $26 million, you probably don't want to file a lawsuit. But
isn't this like the thieves that sue the homeowners over something that happens when they're breaking in?
Seems like it. He was charged with 16 offenses, including 14 counts of dishonestly obtaining a financial advantage by deception, knowingly dealing with proceeds of crime, and possessing a prohibited drug. Wow, geez, he just a trifecta, a turkey of criminal activity. So Benjamin Carter, I guess is his name, was arrested in July 2013, so 11 years ago? Really?
Okay, that's kind of a long period of time on something like gambling.
Is this an old article and it just popped up again?
Maybe
Weird.
This part was just reported.
Well, was arrested for allegedly swindling the money from 8 clients of his company, Carter's Tax Advisory, the Daily Telegraph reports. But he had gone on this spending spree of money. Shortly before his arrest, Carter sued Sportsbet, which he accused of offering him comps and inducements to continue gambling despite his then perilous financial situation. Carter placed 70 million Australian dollars in bets between 2021 and 2023.
Okay, that's why it's more modern.
Sometimes transferring hundreds of thousands of dollars from his bank account to his Sportsbet account in a single day. That's insane. So, I mean, was it his company's money? Meanwhile, the
Well, I
company
don't
flew.
know. I think he might have been looting the funds from the company.
So this is really interesting. Meanwhile, the company flew him across the country to races and sports games as a VIP customer. A video acquired by the Sydney Herald showed the rogue tax advisor partying hard with sportsbook executives in a Darwin, which is almost kind of apropos, a Darwin nightclub, and singing along to Daft Punk's One More Time with his arm around Sportsbet CEO Barney Evans. Carter accused the sportsbook of unconscionable conduct by failing to block his account or limit his exposure to its marketing.
You allowed me to spend lots and lots of money. I mean, isn't that essentially what this boils down to?
Yeah. Insane. So the article is by Philip Conneller over at casino.org and has this picture. Oh, I'm busted. It says this picture.
Time to sue the company that made this possible.
I'm in trouble. Man, it's just wild that anybody thinks like this. I mean, again, I understand if somebody makes an honest mistake, puts the decimal in the wrong spot and
Correct.
misses
That's a
it.
different issue, and then bankrupts the person or something because of it. Okay, I get that. But not when you willingly threw lots and lots of money at this and just didn't. If you won, you wouldn't be suing.
Right. Oh, yeah. And you know that. You've heard me say that time and time again. Nobody bitches on the way up, but on the way down, all the way down. I mean, give me a break. Anyway, Carter faces 10 years in prison if convicted. The case echoes that of former Jackson Jaguars financial manager Amit Patel, who was imprisoned for 6 years for embezzling around $20 million from the NFL team. Earlier this month, he sued FanDuel for encouraging him to gamble. Yeah, I don't know, man. Talk about creating the want, That's what sales is. You create a want. But what are you supposed to do when somebody, unless you give carte blanche access to somebody's financial statements so that they know exactly how much your livable income is,
Exactly. That's the only way to put a check on it, because it seems like at a basic level, somebody's coming in to buy something expensive. I don't know, a Birkin handbag or something. They're not checking if you have enough money or enough disposable money to spend on it.
Yeah.
I realize gambling obviously could be, well, maybe not than addictive shopping, but the point is, like, it's not checked anywhere else. So
Why
did the
here?
company
Why
fail
now?
to do? Right,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. Target. I've been buying toilet paper, anticipating the next pandemic bad bat kind of situation.
Right. They should have cut you off at 3 packs.
When they didn't during the pandemic, now they're doing it because they've been checking my finances.
For other reasons. There weren't 3 packs on the shelf.
Right, yeah. Well, it kind of just fixed itself. Let's move on. Next article is slowly over. Come on. It's over at Mobile. Hasbro selling Power Rangers history and no one's happy about it. I'm not into really Power Rangers, but says an upcoming auction has brought controversy and more money-focused conclusion to the franchise's legacy than its fans and stars would like. That's because basically Power Rangers is being dissolved into nothing more than fan memorabilia sold at an auction block that's going to fund what? Where's the money going to go? First off, where's the money going to go? And secondly, why?
Clearly the sports bet. I mean,
why just get rid of it? Why not give it to somebody who wants to bring it back into reality? There's a lot of very passionate people.
Stop killing TV shows.
Stop killing Power Rangers. Oh my God, they're killing the Power Rangers. Justin Carter over at gizmodo.com put the article together. And it says, just before the weekend, Hasbro, which acquired the brand in 2018, put up old Power Rangers items for sale through the auctioneering website Heritage. Ranger suits, morphers, monster masks, props, you name it, even clothes worn by human supporting characters are up for grabs, while the auction itself doesn't begin until Friday, October 18th. That's just 4 days away. The news understandably rankled longtime Rangers fans. Yes, some of this stuff will absolutely be cool to snag and put somewhere in your room or house. I guess I could.
Are we going to see memorabilia in a future episode?
Which one of these would I look good in?
I mean, you should clearly pick the orange one.
Right on. Okay, I look good in orange. It used to be Hometown's colors. It actually was. Hometown changed colors to this blue. Power Ranger blue. No, it's not. I'm kidding. It's not. It has nothing to do with Power Rangers. I don't even watch Power Rangers. Anyway, the auction also reminded fans how Power Rangers hasn't always been treated the best by its various owners over the years. Like a rented mule, right? Yeah. Eventually, there's a point where they just didn't seem to fully get or want what they initially acquired, so they pass it off to someone else to make a quick buck. In this day and age, anything and its history can just go away so abruptly and unfairly. The idea of a right way to go about it almost doesn't exist anymore. Even so, short of just burning everything in a day-long live stream, this is a callous way to close the book on an original Rangers era. So, even so, short of just burning everything in a day-long live stream? You mean burning everything as in actually torching
Like
it?
the physical items, I guess.
Like setting it on fire? Yeah, that would suck. But I would do a live auction of this memorabilia to fans if, on the other side of this, that money was donated to a good cause or, hear me out, directed to spinning up a 21st century Power Rangers, a whole new thing, right?
Well, then you wouldn't have to get rid of all the props and costumes and everything.
But when a company acquires this stuff and then tanks it, just kills it, right? Because basically,
Ticket to ride.
Right here, Power. I'm still a little salty about that. But Power Rangers Cosmic Fury brought a definitive end to the 30-year TV and films, comics, etc. saga that began all the way back with Mighty Morphin in 1993. But there are people out there that could do this within a budget that is part and parcel to what Power Rangers is. But instead, a mega corporation acquires it and shits all over it. So it's irritating. So Hasbro's so hard up for cash that they'd rather sell off their props and costumes rather than gift them to their respective actors who would cherish the F out of them, wrote Yoshi Sudarso, who played Dino Charge's Kota. In a recent video, he recalled how he and co-star Brennan Mahia were devastated to learn that they wouldn't be able to keep the suits, and echoed Dino's sentiment that Hasbro could have gifted individual suits to their respective actors. Yeah, it's doing it dirty, Why treat it with such little respect? And so they say right here, right? And if not, auction them off for charity at the very least.
Well, you heard it here first from Mayor Watt.
Look at that. Anyway, it's kind of a shit thing to do. Anyway, let's move on. The next article, come on. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Millions of people across the U.S. use well water, but very few test it often enough to make sure it's safe. About 23 million people. Well, actually, not million people, but U.S. households depend on private wells as their drinking water source. These homeowners are entirely responsible for ensuring that the water from their wells is safe for human consumption. It's one of the reasons why I switched to RO water, reverse osmosis water, so that I can verify the integrity of the water supply. And when I ran my water supply, which is actually acquired from outside ohmTown, because ohmTown is perfect. There's just not enough water for everybody in the universe out there. Anyway, the meter for total dissolved solids was above what the EPA allows.
Not a good sign.
And so even with reinfusion of minerals, I'm at 11 as opposed to over 600 for what was processed the last time that I ran it. So
did you know this many people used well water in the U.S.? That looks like it's about roughly 13% of all people in the U.S.
Oh,
Assuming each household is like 2 people, for instance, which I know it's not.
it's probably closer to like 4 people actually. Yeah,
Right.
I don't actually know. Because it's about like the nuclear family is kind of
It's like 2.5 people or whatever.
nowadays. Yeah. So I'm not so surprised because there's a lot of rural families and out in the burbs kind of thing that don't have city water or they have well water. So, and apparently, the heartland kind of thing in rural
Oh, that's an
areas.
interesting map, isn't it? Well, I guess that's not where wells are, it's just where the
Right.
chemicals are,
Where there's
or the
high
minerals.
nitrogen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and aquifer vulnerability. So Gabriel Lade, I think, over at The Conversation put the article together, but it's published at phys.org. And it says the U.S. EPA still relies on 15-year-old study data showing that among 2,000 households, 1 in 5 households' well water contained at least one contaminant at levels above the thresholds that the public water systems must meet, except that the inverse of contaminated well water is chlorinated city water, which gives you a completely different flavor. And particularly with beer and stuff like that, if you want to brew your own beer, it really messes with the chemistry of it. So you have to inject additional counter contaminants if you,
Right, because you know what you want is more chemicals.
yeah, exactly. So they say that they're an economist studying energy and agriculture issues. This is the author. In a recent study, they worked with colleagues at Iowa State University and University of Massachusetts Amherst and Cornell University to understand drinking water related behaviors and perceptions of households that use private wells. And so they focused on rural Iowa. So there you go. They found that few households allowed public health guidance or followed public health guidance on testing their well water because at those services that I have seen charge somewhere around $35 to $45 per sample. So
Right, and that's just a point in time. I mean, I guess that's better than not testing it.
yeah. So they talk about that they focused on nitrate, one of the main well water pollutants in rural areas. Major sources include chemical fertilizers, animal waste, human sewage. It all trickles down into the water table. If it isn't filtered adequately enough, then the nitrogen level increases and you end up with nitrates. So you don't want that because its contamination conflicts with oxygen transport in babies, and so you end up with harmed babies. And it doesn't do adult humans all that much better. So, and water in particular is very adept at absorbing gases. So you don't want high nitrogen in your water. It's supposed to be H2O, free of other gas-like contaminants that are going to off-gas in your bloodstream in you when you drink. So not good. Studies also found that for people of all ages, drinking water with low nitrate concentrations over long periods of time is strongly associated with chronic health diseases, including colorectal cancer, thyroid disease, as well as neural tube defects in
Is
developing
that
fetuses.
correct? Is that actually high nitrate?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be high, isn't it?
Yeah, because they cap it. Like it can't be above a certain amount, which makes me think the problem is when there's too many.
Right? Yeah, nitrates, one of the main well water pollutants. So yeah, they said that studies also found that people of all ages drinking water with low nitrate concentrations over long periods of time. I don't know if that's. I'm gonna have to look at that again. Interesting. So they say the EPA limits nitrate levels in public water systems to 10 milligrams per liter. So that's when you hear parts per million, that's the milligrams per liter is the parts per million. So they say the water's fine or it's not. Mailing lists of households with private wells are hard to come by, so for their study, they digitized over 22,000 addresses using maps from 14 Iowa counties, targeted counties where public water systems had struggled to meet EPA safety standards for nitrate and drinking water, and where private wells that had been tested over past 20 years showed nitrate concentrations at concerning levels. And so I think that was actually wrong. It's the inverse in that statement, because I don't understand why you can, if it's, I don't think there's a problem with it being too low, because you can remove nitrogen from water and it doesn't harm you in any way. That's exactly what reverse osmosis water does, removes all of it.
Right. And I did look, I clicked through to the referenced link, and it looks like it should be too high.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll send them an email and say, hey, this is a huge typo.
I know, this is like one of these, somebody reads it and relies on it for a decade, and then they go, oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess you shouldn't have been doing that for 5 years. So providing information and tools helps. So they basically need to be informed. And education is the primary motivator here. You inform somebody about something being harmful to them and they change their behavior. Just like if you observe somebody, they act a completely different way. But the moment that they notice that you're watching or they're being paid attention to, then they act differently. Tell somebody that their water is contaminated with something that's directly harmful to them, and you'll have one of two actors: the ones that care and do something about it, and then the ones that say, well, I've been drinking it for years, I'm going to remain ignorant. And you literally cannot, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them filter it out properly and make their offspring healthy. So they say households bear the burden. See, household willing to pay as much as $13 for a program that would cost the state roughly $5 to implement. But it's an ongoing thing. You know, as of 2024, just 24 states offered well water testing kits for at least one contaminant that were free or cost $100 or less. But it only tests for only certain things. It's not a large gamut. So you really need to take it.
It's not a comprehensive.
Correct. Yeah.
And can you afford 10 different kits for 10 different chemicals and then go, oh, I didn't test for the 11th, which was the one that I really needed to be worried about?
Yeah, but then you're going to end up in a queue waiting for your water to come back from a lab. It is what it is. Okay, let's keep moving though. The next article is over on Law & Order. Lawyers ordered to provide door-to-door apology after their early morning screen test. Lawyers who wakened South Philadelphia residents with a looped recording of a screaming woman to prove a point in a lawsuit must go door to door and say, I'm sorry. Deborah Cassens-Weiss over at abajournal.com put this article together. Let's see here. In an October 10th opinion, U.S. District Judge John F. Murphy this one here?
Yeah, just about the underlying stuff that led to this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because they're probably prosecuting a lawsuit about somebody who was assaulted. So if you're sensitive to that topic, I apologize in advance. But we're not going to talk about that aspect of it anyway. More draw to the point that this is asking for forgiveness, not permission. So they basically drove around a neighborhood with a 122 decibel recording of a person screaming to prove a point that
like somebody could or could not hear the person.
Or people wouldn't respond to it or whatever it might be. I mean, depending on what side of the fence you're on, you can sit there and argue that the people didn't care. So it happens so often, we've been desensitized to it.
Well, I think this test showed otherwise. One person showed up with a baseball bat in response to the test.
There you go. So such an action would benefit defense counsel who were present for the Scream test and at least complicit in allowing the test to move forward. Lawyer Emma Freudenberger of the law firm Neufeld, Scheck, Bruston, Hoffman, and Freudenberger.
Your earlier comments on that topic.
Took personal responsibility for what happened. Murphy said in a footnote. The judge allowed any lawyer for the plaintiffs to conduct the in-person apologies, however. So guess what? First years, off you go.
Right. We've got a task for you.
As long as they're lawyers and not paralegals. Freudenberger
and
other...
Who thought this was a good idea? I mean, really, like you're going around a neighborhood playing a Scream. What could that cause? I mean, particularly given the neighborhood or the crime level.
This is very Pet Detective, where he's out on the balcony and he's going, oh,
right. I wonder if they got the idea from there.
I guarantee it. They were at a bar talking about movies and somebody said this and they're like, holy cow, I know what I can do.
I think I glanced ahead at this one. I think this was actually not even during normal hours too.
No, it was 5:30 in the morning.
I mean, you could cause some serious problems playing that at that hour and people not knowing what was going on. Like I'm thinking people bringing their weapons out, people being traumatized.
Yeah, I think what's going to end up happening is the law firm is going to change to asshole, Arschloch, and asshole. Had to throw in a little bit of cosmopolitan there. Let's move on. The next article's over on the Marvel Channel. Ex-DEA agent busted for protecting drug dealers he knew as a kid. I knew y'all as kids. Don't worry about all that drug trafficking y'all are doing.
Isn't that the whole purpose of being a DEA agent?
Yeah, you're supposed to enforce the law. Golly. Like a scene out of Martin Scorsese's gangster movie, a former U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration agent, DEA agent, was convicted of corruption last week for protecting drug traffickers he'd known as children. Joseph Bongiovanni, 60 years old. 60 years old. Put your life on the line at 60.
But did he put his whole career? Like, did he do this for his whole career? That might be quite a bit of people that have
yeah,
I don't know.
Says ex-DEA agent, now like a cop turned bad, right? They have to go back and audit everything, and you know that they're going to try and do, well, we investigated ourselves and we found ourselves guilty of no wrongdoing.
Well, in this instance, they probably weren't going after people, so at least they weren't necessarily wrongfully, although they might have, because what if they went after somebody else?
Oh, and they took part in this. Oh, I think they're tying them to distribution of controlled substances, making false statements. But the distribution of controlled substances, that's really bad for somebody who's a DEA agent. If you sit there and go, well, I actually converted them into confidential informants and they were feeding me information, that's one thing. But going, you're not providing me any valuable information leading to the conviction or prosecution of a criminal, so I'm going to let you skate because you're friends, According to prosecutors, he'd tipped off childhood friends who became drug dealers as well as other traffickers who had ties to organized crime, allegedly for 10 years.
Wow. I mean, that could be quite a few cases that I don't know. What did that mean? Nobody was, prosecuted for those, that the wrong person was prosecuted.
Wow. Sammy Caramella over at Vice.com put the article together. Who knows, the full extent of this? For 10 years, Bongiovanni shared DEA files and falsified DEA reports to help keep these individuals out of trouble. That almost sounds like a bit chivalrous. He accepted bribes totaling at least $250,000. The jury determined that he was a corrupt federal agent and he violated his oath and duties to protect those who should have been investigating and arresting. What we set out to do is to show that Bongiovanni was a corrupt federal agent, and we did that. So, wow. Yeah. This isn't a side gig, folks. You take this job to enforce the law.
Right. I mean, this would be bad enough if it was somebody who was just a normal citizen, but this whole purpose of this is to do what he was actively working against.
Yeah. Rough. Let's keep going. Next article is over on the mobile channel. Oops, looks like Walmart is selling that new Xbox early. Ahead of the release tomorrow, October 15th, a Reddit user managed to come up with the fabled Xbox Series X Digital Edition during a trip to Walmart. That's what it looks like. Oh, it's like a cylinder.
Looks like a computer.
I mean, not a cylinder. It looks like yeah, I mean, it is a computer, but
like a tower or something.
It looks like yeah, it looks like a rectangle, a box. It isn't thin. Why is this thing so thick? Aren't we in the 21st century? This thing should be like a mini, right? Like a Mac Mini. It should be tiny.
Right. I thought tech was getting more compact.
Wow. So true to its name, this version of the Xbox Series X doesn't have a disk drive. Sorry to all physical media fans. Yeah, physical media is dead. By the way, this is Dwayne Jenkins over at Vice.com who put the article together. The deck statement says what I said earlier. And it says, as someone who definitely isn't waiting on Alan Wake 2 Collector's Edition later in the year, they are compelled to agree. It says, it does look fresh as hell, but I just can't justify not having a disk drive still. My physical collection is just so large, and you can still find so many deals with used physical games. And part of that sentence I can agree with. Never mind.
Which part?
So Game Pass has made me lazy. I've only used the disk drive a handful of times. I actually have just left my Xbox 360 copy of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in the drive for backwards compatibility play. Probably have played a movie with it a couple of times, said another user. So this is like Reddit turned Vice article. If you haven't heard, Steam and other places are now putting little notices that you do not own jack shit. You have a license to consume, which means they can revoke it at any time. They can change it at any time. And this applies to music and movies and books and basically anything that doesn't have physical presence in three-dimensional space somewhere. Maybe this is what's going to end up leading to actual whatchamacallit, crypto, whatever things, gone it, like the artwork that you can actually own.
Oh, NFTs?
Yeah, NFTs. Because if you own it, if you have an NFT that's attached to a digital product, you own that, and it's representative that you own that.
Uh-huh.
So then
that
I can
would be
take
interesting.
Yeah, sell me the NFT. I want my first sale doctrine back. I want to be able to complete a game and sell it to somebody. And you could sit there and do, well, we haven't manufactured another NFT. Because the purpose of physical media was multifold. It guaranteed that money was exchanged for a physical product. Now, that never stopped pirates, but anyway. But then you had it, and you could go over and sell your Oregon Trail CD. It's funny. Anyway, but now you can't. You can't do anything with it. You're not even allowed to make a backup copy of it. Technically, you're not allowed to make a backup copy of it. You're not even allowed to make a custom mixtape. You're not allowed to. It's all digital, and so it has one-to-one parity. It's not a rip, so it doesn't lower in quality because it's a analog recording, and so you get copy degradation. That's not what happens anymore. It's all digital. So I'm in the camp for this, in the sense that I want physical media back. What a tirade I just went on.
Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that. You're always saying physical media is dead.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want a digital version of this where I don't have the rights of physical media. So this does nothing but promote that transition, killing physical media even more. It's deader than
I
dead.
don't disagree, but I also think a lot of other products, and I think if this is the deal breaker on this product, isn't it on 90% of the things that are being released now?
Yes. Well, so you just like stated the thing that I think people really they acknowledge it exists, but nobody has tried to claw back. Like people really, and I talk to hundreds of people. Like I'm not talking about streaming and stuff like that. I'm out in the real physical world. I talk to people all the time about this stuff, technology and whatever, and people have no idea. Everybody online, they realize it, but there are people who don't embrace streaming and technology and all of that, and they'll buy something and they have zero idea that they have no actual ownership of anything anymore.
Right. I like the NFT idea. That'd be interesting to see if that takes off.
So there's a fee involved with producing an NFT. And so now we're back to, well, it's just the box price, right? So, but we never got that discount. When we switched to digital and it was our burden to
That's
download and all of
true.
that
It
stuff,
was even perhaps more expensive,
it is.
but it
It's
certainly
70.
wasn't cheaper.
Games are coming out from major developers that are $70 now. And if you want early access, they're tacking on $50 to that bill. Sometimes just 40 or sometimes even 20, but still.
But then also subscriptions and other in-game
Oh
purchases.
gosh, live service games. Ugh, God. Anyway, next article is over in Non Sequitur News. ADHD suspected by one in four American adults.
When I first saw this headline, I thought it was like basically 1 in 4 have it, but now I think 1 in 4 think they have it, or
maybe
think others have it.
That's it. There's 25% of us out there that are walking around going, that person has ADHD. So I certainly think that I haven't diagnosed ADHD. I wander off in the middle of a stream for crying out loud. But anyway, but if it's really interesting, then I'm ensconced in the gathering the data. Like I'm in the middle of a project and I'm sitting there just gobbling up as much data as I can. But I find it really fascinating to create new products and services. So anyway, ADHD suspected by, I think it should be in 1 in 4 American adults, survey finds, but only 1 in 8 has shared their suspicions of ADHD with a doctor. So yeah, they suspect that they have ADHD.
Right, but they're not doing anything about it.
Right. Well, that's going to be an interesting conversation with the doctors. There's going to be this spike because people are talking about it.
And now there's going to be this spike right in the diagnosis of it, which is going to be like, what happened in 2024?
Yeah, and how many doctors are going to sit there and go, oh yeah, you have ADHD. What they're going to do is go, stop visiting Dr. Google.
Yes, as many doctors, I think, say.
Yep. So Hattie Wilmoth over at newsweek.com put this article together, and this stream, the video, I don't think it has anything to do with the actual content of this article, other than that it's ADHD related. So videos online about ADHD in adulthood, especially among women, have spread awareness about the condition and led many theorizing that they may have it too. This is the something that worries psychologist Justin Bartarian. It's very Dune-like, but it's Butlerian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, clinical assistant professor in Ohio State's Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Health. Quote, I think there's an over-pathologizing of normal variability in human attention. Not everyone can pay attention all the time, or may engage in some of the symptoms of ADHD without them causing significant problems. If a person suspects that they have ADHD, I'm pretty sure that they're not going, oh, I just wander off. No,
I think it's much more than that, because I suspect there are people that have it that don't suspect they have it.
And this
that
is
are at a milder level, perhaps.
This is exactly what I just got done saying. They're marginalizing the possibility that a person has ADHD before they even get to interview the
Which
person.
really doesn't incentivize people to go in and talk to their doctor,
Yeah.
because that's a known thing with certain conditions that it doesn't get taken seriously. And because of that, it's hard to get anything diagnosed, blah, blah, blah.
Of course, I'm still surprised that people don't realize that 50% of the population doesn't have an inner monologue.
They don't have a test for that.
Yeah, and there's no real
Most
test
people
for
probably
ADHD.
don't even know what that is because they either have it or they don't, but they don't realize that's not always the norm.
And they're already deflecting this to anxiety, depression, that ADHD has a lot of the symptoms of blah, 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 but it takes an interview. And so, I don't know. I would rather we do the research necessary to fundamentally ascertain what ADHD is in a human being. But I also suspect that this is part and parcel to humanity's evolution towards something, right? So our society changes, like the rise of sociopathy in societies. It's gotten just more and more blatant. And so ADHD could just be another of these sociological mechanisms
where it's actually changed over time. But I also think there's increased awareness of conditions. So then, is it really that there's more of it, or it's just we're more cognizant of it? It could be both.
So there's a YouTuber, who also streams on Twitch, and that goes by Senpai Gaming is the channel, but I can't remember the person's name. And they went to a doctor, and they talked about it on their stream about how they started taking ADHD drugs. And they were like, holy crap, this is how much work y'all get done. And that was like one of those moments where I'm like, wow, if I could focus, maybe, that would actually
Live animal alert.
What? Oh.
Like full live animal alert.
Oh no.
Just went through.
Wow. All right. Well, now they're back there. So at any rate, so Ohio State's survey of 1,006 American adults found that 25% of adults suspected that they may have undiagnosed ADHD, but only 13% have shared suspicions of ADHD with a doctor. So let's keep moving. I can't do anything about that until after the show. So at any rate, the next article is over in Non-Sequitur News. Singaporeans are used to paying less than $5 for a meal. This 30-year-old chef charges double and diners keep coming. To which I say, well, $5 or $10. Maybe something is different, and that's why they are willing to pay $10. This is Gwyneth
True,
Ang.
but when it's double, like that's quite an inflation amount, right? Like it's one thing if it's $30 and a nicer one costs $35 or something.
Well, this is a person who got their first job in Burt Ends, a Michelin-starred restaurant in Singapore. They went on to open a hawker stall selling prawn noodles, which later expanded into casual eatery. Now Ang has opened up a modern Asia seafood restaurant in a trendy new shopping center. So, full circle moment for Gwyneth Ang, 30, as she sits on a bar stool in front of the open kitchen of her new restaurant. And Aaron Liam over at businessinsider.com put the article together. And so let's see. I guess she's going to be maybe trending towards getting her own Michelin star, right? One prawn and
probably so if she's at that same quality level.
Yeah, exactly. So the restaurant is a modern vibe with lime-washed walls, metallic blue tiles on the open kitchen backsplash, hanging lamps to provide cool mood lighting at One Prawn and Co. It's an 80-seater, they say, restaurant in New Baru. I won't go through the whole thing, but I wanted to talk about food. After 2 years of working in a fine dining kitchen, Ang was ready to move on. Just 2 years, and they're already got the capital and means to spin up a full-on restaurant.
Right, I guess that gives you enough credibility and training and all that.
Burnt Ends is based in Singapore and has one Michelin star. In March, it was ranked number 15 on Asia's 50 best restaurants list and number 68 on the global list, which seems number 15 on Asia's 50. How many are in the global list? Like 1,000? Or
I don't know, because I thought it was mainly North America based for Michelin, if
yeah,
I'm not mistaken.
I thought so too. There was a different one for Europe, I thought. Maybe not. I know that they're all over the place, but I thought that there was a separate one for Europe, a completely different thing from Michelin, but I could be wrong. It's been a while. So they're talking about local cuisine and this hawker stall, which I think these are amazing. I sometimes watch streams of people that go out to these hawker stalls where they can.
By the way, there's a lot worldwide.
Gotcha.
Like over 17,000 apparently.
And this is number 68.
So it must be really good.
So yeah, we'll have to look. So I've never been to a Michelin starred restaurant. Just not really sure why. I've been near them, but just never went into them. So she partnered with a friend that she had met at Burnt Ends to open the hawker stall in 2019. They invested 60,000 Singapore dollars, around $47,000 into the venture. Eng did not share the name of her partner with Business Insider. Hey, a silent partner. So follow your dreams, folks. That's kind of the message here. Start small and slowly move your way up. This person, though, had a silent partner. I know somebody that had that same type of connection with somebody that they could fall into a pile of manure and come out smelling like a rose. So they had a silent partner that I never met, but would easily fund anything that this person came up with. Because they knew on the other side they were such a good performer that it would always result in a profit for them. So apparently, but I've seen some of the numbers. So in 2022, Casual Eatery turned its first Michelin Bib Gourmand, a rating that recognizes establishments that serve quality food at lower price points. So good luck. Anyway, there's more to this article. You can get more out of it if you follow the link through ohmTown, but we're going to kind of hustle on to the next article. Because I wanted to see this. This is over on Reality Hacker. Milton disrupted the flow of drinking water, so Florida deployed a machine to harvest it from the air. A Tampa-based company that's making atmospheric...
Why are we doing this everywhere? I didn't even know we had this technology in place.
So it may take more electricity than they can. If this doesn't use solar, then it may take more electricity than it's worth, making the water expensive in any other condition than an emergency. So atmospheric water generators and the state of Florida were able to supply one to a hospital shortly after Milton made landfall. So the article is over at wired.com by Emily Mullen. And this is what it looks like. It's called Water Cube. So they can cause hurricanes can cause infrastructure damage, like in St. Petersburg. They can knock out power at water treatment plants, leading to untreated and undertreated water being distributed. And stormwater runoff can contaminate groundwater and surface water. In 2022, after Hurricane Ian hit, some Florida hospitals were left without running water for days. Yeah. So in preparation for Milton, Genesis and AHCA moved one of these units called the Water Cube 1000 to a storm shelter outside Tampa. Yikes. And this is what I tell people about hurricane and tornadoes. As soon as the roof gets lifted off, say bye. Everything is going to fall over.
Then everything's getting flooded or it'll just be destroyed.
Yeah, the walls fall over, you lose your shelter. That's why 3D printed houses, one contiguous concrete block, basically, and society can adapt to find them beautiful. The twig and nail stuff. I mean, if a wolf can blow them over.
I know. How many years has it been since helm design has really been innovated, and I would suggest it's probably been decades, other than the 3D printing, but it hasn't really taken off.
It's always been the twigs and nails, and only until innovators like Icon started building or throwing their gantry up and 3D printing homes, structures, has it really changed. Even iron, like solid steel structures and stuff, right? All it is welded together or riveted together twigs and nails.
Right. And we know, actually, I said decades, but it's been centuries.
Yep. I mean, since the dawning of time, it's been. So, except the last time there was a major innovation in building structure where it has served the test of time. Take a guess. Still don't know who built them.
I don't know.
Pyramids.
Oh, I'm thinking in modern times.
Yeah. Aliens built them 12,000 years ago. Actually, longer than that, but people moved into them 12,000 years. I love that. Anyway, at their current price and the amount of water that they're able to generate, these devices are unlikely to be the sole source of water for these types of situations anytime soon. According to figures published by the U.S. Department of Energy, a hospital the size of All Children's would typically use anywhere from 10,000 to 90,000 gallons a day. Because Joan drinks so damn much. I don't know what she's doing with that thermos, but she is constantly drinking. That's how you go from 10,000 to 90,000. Anyway, that's far more than the 2,000 gallons that the larger Genesis Systems unit is able to produce in 24 hours. So, obviously, you're going to need a whole plethora of these.
Yeah, this has a scaling issue, although it's better than not having it.
Yeah, so you can make 2,000 gallons in 24 hours, which can facilitate some survivability, but put these everywhere and you got something going here. Put them in regions where they are supposed to cover the average consumption of 2,000 gallons. Plop it down, emergency services activate it, it starts pumping water. What's the problem here? You know, taxpayers should be paying for this so that they can, in times of trouble, lean on a system like this. But then you're designated for where you're supposed to go and nobody else is allowed to consume from it. And everybody gets an apportionment of it. But that's not what happens. Greedy bastards come and
steal things like, I don't know, water or groceries.
Damage it and whatever. Yeah, people are bastards. Okay, let's move on. Last article for today. Non sequitur news is where it's sitting. Woman orders her grandpa a basketball birthday cake. Doesn't go exactly as planned.
That's an understatement.
This cake place did you a huge favor, read one comment on the viral Reddit post, which has 51,000 upvotes at the time of this article's construction. I saw it much earlier. Sometime this morning, I saw it. And I was dying laughing. And then when it got submitted, I just lost my mind. It was hilarious. So the article is by Lucy Notarantonio over at newsweek.com. And here's the picture of this. You can get more out of this by reading the article, but essentially the chocolate frosting cake has blue letters that say "Happy Birthday, Grandpa." And what she wrote was, please write "Happy Birthday, Grandpa," and if possible, decorate with some basketballs. I don't know if it got transferred on a note or what, but I'm not upset with the result because the cake actually reads, "Happy Birthday, Grandpa," with a couple of balls.
It says not the balls we wanted, but the balls we got in the comments. I guess that was the person who ordered the cake. Oh my goodness. I mean, who?
The woman said, when I opened the box, I was crying, laughing so hard. I love this. And what's awesome about this is that every other dollop of frosting has sprinkles on the spherical
Exactly. It kind of works.
It kind of works. Oh, God. Now I want cake. Keep the balls. Anyway, I would seriously have worried that my grandfather would have laughed himself into cardiac arrest having seen that cake and hearing the story, said one comment with 5,600 upvotes. The cake decorator knows this isn't what you asked for, but doesn't give an F anyway, said another. I love it.
I mean, this is really a riot.
God. I love it. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks very much for hanging out if you're in chat and over on YouTube. We will call it a day. And tomorrow will be another set of 10 articles. As long as Mayor Watt and the sentient AI can actually put it together. Maybe we're going to still be laughing about Grandpa's balls cake. I'm Mayor Watt. Sentient AI is going to sing us off. Oh. Yeah, okay, sorry. I'm going to bounce my balls back to the front page of ohmtown.com.
On that note, good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non-Sequitur News. Be back for more balls tomorrow.
Oh, I double dribbled.